Hello everyone, this is the LEGO Ideas Voltron, based on the classic 1980s cartoon series. And if there are any classic Voltron memorabilia collectors out there, there's something that I need to show you right from the start for the sake of scale. This is not the original Bandai Matchbox diecast Lion Force Voltron. This is the 1984 Panache Place version, which is larger. And for folks who aren't Voltron nerds, well, there's something for scale. This set has taken me on a whole roller coaster of emotion. When it was first announced that it was going to be produced, I was absolutely ecstatic. I was actually on the market for another Voltron collectible display item for myself, and hey, a LEGO version seemed like the perfect way to fit that bill. Then when LEGO showed the final production version of this in pictures and revealed that the articulation of the combination model would be limited to just moving the arms back and forth this way and articulating slightly at the elbows and just a little bit at the wrists, and that's just it, well, I was very disappointed. I mean, technically you can move the head back and forth a little bit too, so that counts for something. Then I bought this thing and built it and realized it was enormous, and all the good feelings came rushing back. So as just a collectible Go Lion Force Voltron, this is very impressive to look at if you're not trying to play with it. If you're trying to play with it, it's honestly not all that great in full Voltron form, although it's not too much more limiting than the classic toys were, but you are dealing with LEGO here, so it's not going to be quite as durable. There are quite a number of small pieces that can come off, and also you have the legs of the lions, which are actually better articulated than on a lot of the toys through history. However, in this completed form, all put together, it is fairly sturdy. It is not going to fall over easily. It has good traction, good friction with the ground, thanks to a tire that they place snugly in the foot on each side, basically. It's not very visible here. The legs are always splayed open like that. The joints at the hips that give you that angle right here are very, very rigid right in there. They've got a lot of strengthening members in there to make sure those do not move, do not even flex a little bit as you stand this up. So the articulation is really just what I showed you. But the wonderful thing here is that not only can this be displayed in its full Voltron form, and it has the star shield over here, which has some new bright silver coloration for some parts for the Nexonites introduced large shield pieces with the bar on them, and also these triangular, basically street sign pieces. They also have the full sword here, which can be taken out of the hand. Right now it's connected at both ends of the hilt to make sure that it will stay in place, but you can take that out, and they include the part needed to make it whole as just its own thing with a complete hilt like that. Pretty good. But this is also comprised of the individual lions, which can be taken apart, can be displayed on their own, and can be played with, actually. Now what you're going to see here in this sped up footage is my personal first time ever converting this model from full Voltron form back to the original lions. You actually build the lions one by one at the very start, just following the instructions. You build the legs, and then you build the black lion body, and then you build the arms, and then at the very end they have you learn how to assemble them all together. Being completely new to this process, I do make a couple small mistakes, and I'm not very efficient at it yet, but even at that, I didn't have that much trouble. It was a lot easier than my first time and my second time and third and fourth and fifth time converting the Panache Place version back and forth, and it's a lot easier than, for example, converting back and forth a good Transformer toy. You also kind of have to extend a little bit of kindness with the understanding that this is LEGO, and they did not introduce any brand new part molds for this. This is only just using very standard, very regular pieces It uses all legal building techniques, and it had to be designed to be easy to put together by anyone just following the instructions. And they were successful at all of those things. The yellow lion is the very first one they have you build, and that fire yellow-orange or orangish yellow color, the school bus yellow kind of color, really pops. It really stands out and just screams toy to you in a very good way. This also immediately gives some examples of some interesting part inclusions. The eyes here are in the recently resurrected teal color or turquoise color, and a lot of the filler pieces, some of the smaller filler pieces throughout all of the lions, use that color, and the Lego designers have been consciously trying to use that as a filler color in many places, really just as a service to fans, to allow more of that color to get out there on the market quickly for a lot of folks who missed it or who really like that color. Also, you can see the new printed piece that's used for the upper leg joint. It's just a round 2x2 tile, but it's printed, it's a light bluish gray piece, and it's printed with the bright silver color. Do have some openings on this, or on various lions in different places as necessary for connection points, but overall this is a very good looking thing for how sturdy it is and just what all it has to do for the major model. I mean, even the jaw is done exceptionally well, in my opinion. The blue lion came next, and most of its structure is the same. It's the same size and fits together in the main Voltron combination, basically in the same way. But it has just small details around the head that are different, and also back here, a little bit back here. It doesn't have the extra fins, but most of this is the same in terms of its structure. Just small details have been changed up. The stuff on the outside, really. The story of the Blue Lion and who piloted it when was really messed up in the Western adaptation, going from Go Lions over to Voltron. They went back and forth several times on it, so it's kind of weird if you look back at the original series, and a lot of it doesn't make sense because it was done out of order. But fortunately, the newer Voltron series clears a lot of that up and presents a new and much more cohesive story. In toys, the lions used for the arms have typically been the most disappointing ones because you've been able to do the least with them. Interestingly, here in this Lego form, you can do the most with these because these do have the ability to rotate the heads back and forth, and they also have a little bit of waist articulation, a fair amount. That turns into the elbows. So that's actually cool to see. And all of these have the ability to move their legs forward and back, and they also have the joint there and there to allow you to pose in different ways, and they have differing levels of tail articulation, nothing too impressive there. These arm ones are not able to open and close the jaws, though, unfortunately, so you do have some pros and some cons, but still a good looking thing for what it is. Not too many compromises were made in terms of its functionality, so overall, again, I have to be pretty happy with this, especially for something made of Lego. The heads are really done nicely. I really like the shaping. From any kind of distance, they almost don't look like they're made of Lego. You have to be a real Lego fan, familiar with the pieces to pick out exactly what the techniques are and how they're used until you get up a little bit closer. And the colors from the outsides are good. So I mentioned that they use the turquoise or teal color for fillers. They also use pinks inside. They use all kinds of colors on the inside, but when it comes to the exterior, they did it right. They don't show any of that stuff from any angle whatsoever. It's all hidden away. I mean, the worst things you get are these axles. Okay, they're in yellow. Boo-hoo. It kind of goes just fine with the yellow colors of the intentional accents. So again, just done well with hiding things that should not be seen. The green lion is very similar to the red one because this is the other arm, so structurally it's the same, and in terms of its articulation it's the same, but it looks a good deal different by virtue of the shaping around the shoulders and the forward part of the body. It's so rounded, and it also ends up looking a lot taller than it really is. Just the proportions look significantly different, even though the actual size and shape and amount of space that's used up is very, very similar. So that's actually very nicely done. And also just how boxy the rear hips are for the red one versus how sleek they are for the green. It's a very nice differentiation, and this may be my favorite here. It's hard to say that against the yellow one. The yellow one just has that fantastic color scheme. But in terms of build and shaping, I have to give the nod to the green one. This is very sleek and it just looks pretty proper. The worst thing about it is just looking directly from the side at the neck. You've got that Technic pinhole there. That, I guess, could be filled up with some things. And again, there's no ability to open and close the jaw on either of these, but everything else works with the legs. They're very posable in that sense. And you have the waist articulation, and the neck can turn just a bit. Ironically, the black Voltron lions in toys have had a lot of historical compromises required, just like the little red and green arm ones. Even though this one is so much larger, the black one forms the body and therefore has had to be very strong. It's had to have the connection points for everything else. And you can definitely feel that when you build this. Here again, in the Lego form, you feel the compromises, and you can just see the limitations that were required. The designer, again, did, I think, a fantastic job of navigating those limitations and making a very sturdy structure. It is too bad that you're not able to just rotate the legs, for example, the lower legs back to convert it into the Voltron form. This is one where you do have to take things apart, but it's easy enough, and that's well done. You just take this off and then rotate, connect 90 degrees off, make sure that will actually go into the holes. Yeah, that works okay. It's not that big of a deal. And then with the shoulders, it's a little bit more of a change around, because those come off completely. Again, they use clips and bars, come off easily enough. Hey, there you can see some of the rainbow of colors that are used inside, and it gets much worse than that. But again, they hide away that stuff most of the time. This one, to convert to Voltron, actually gets rotated around 180 degrees, but then it just gets clipped back in. You can see that starts to form the chest there, but that's not that bad. This feels okay. It doesn't feel like I'm disassembling a Lego model to do that. I think it's an okay compromise, again, for the sturdiness. The worst thing here, as I mentioned earlier on, in terms of compromises, that you have this angle that cannot be changed. It's always going to be there. So the legs are always going to be kind of apart from each other. And a lot of toys over history have suffered from that in order to get certain poses. They've seemed rather static in their poses. And there are just some things that you realistically have to live with. This one has a nice print right there for the head on that 5-sided tile piece. And also, I guess I should have brought these, I think, like so. Yeah, I think that's how they go. But the actual Voltron head, or Voltron face for this one, which is just inside the jaw right there, which is pretty proper, does have an exclusive printed 1x3 double inverted slope to get that mouth on there. And I very much appreciate the inclusion of so many prints in this set, although the set does include a sticker sheet. Now, I did not apply the stickers here, but they give you the numbers for each of the lions. And in the Western markets, under the Voltron name, not the original Go Lion name, but as Voltron, they put these numbers on the lions, but in the original Japanese versions, they didn't have them. I should also point out that for the chest detail, to get the cross in there, they have used a lug wrench, and that is molded in the newer version of Pearl Gold. The color, it's a little bit more yellowish than it used to be, a little bit more properly gold. But to give you that piece, they actually include a full set of tools. The little bag that they do, they mold them all together. And this grill piece up here at the top represents the little bit of crown detail in the emblem. And you also get these painted bright metallic silver colored tiles of different sizes and shapes. A couple of those used for the belt as well. Of course, it would have been very nice to get some minifigures to go with this set. That would have really upped the value and the collectability. But then I'm sure that a lot of us would have wanted those minifigures to actually fit into the individual lions in some kind of way, just like they could with the panache place version that I showed earlier. And there's no way that the designer could have gotten that to work out while still accommodating all of the functions needed here and all of the structure needed to make the transformation and all the connections work, while also keeping the exterior nice and clean as it is. So a fair compromise there. It still would be nice if they offered up just a limited run of, just a minifigure pack to go with this, just to have the team that could be displayed there would be a nice add-on. But as it is, the price to part ratio for this is excellent, and it's not artificially made to look good by the inclusion of a ton of little 1x1 plates and tiles. There are some of those in here, but on average this has a very average number of average sized pieces, some slightly larger, some slightly smaller, a good number of actual prints, exclusive prints at that, and and also recolors as well. Super happy with this thing. In the end, even though it does have its limitations in terms of posability, the size and the pop of the colors and the sturdiness of it all, I think makes up for any shortcomings. So I am very satisfied with this thing, and will be placing it on display long term in my personal collection, and I hope that I have done a decent job of showing you what this thing looks like and how it works in this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.